Hey guys, what it is with Mikey. I wanted to tell you guys real quick, had a great weekend. A lot of fun. The team wins the big game. Me and the wife go have some fun up in the canyon, feeding the duckies and going to some lovely lunch at Texas Roadhouse. And video was good. I appreciate all the love from everybody. So during the comments, Mr. James Cogmotter wrote me and told me about another topic he thought would be interesting. And I'm going to start calling these Motter Minutes or something. I don't know, because I get a lot of them. They're so stimulating mentally and so enjoyable to think about. This one, Cog, is take number 6. And I'm being honest, because this topic is very difficult, I'm finding, for me to express what I want to say. Now, I want to tell you what he wrote. Let's start with that. It says, he's talking about individualism as a mentally ill person. And he says, because the illness suppresses my abilities to be logical, reasonable, and rational on a frequent basis, I find myself waiting for other people to make decisions or guide me on what I should be doing. Does this sound familiar? And this sounds so familiar, and I've wanted to take this on so many different routes, but I understand and I want to answer to what you're saying here before I get into some examples and such. And that's where I've been struggling to find the exact words. But I understand what you're saying, because of this disease, you are not your individual self you were before the disease, I think is what you're saying. And you worry that because of the logical, responsible, and rational thinking, lack thereof, you're worried about not doing things right. So you bring other people into the mix, and sometimes you're waiting for them. And sometimes maybe they're giving you advice or knowledge maybe you wouldn't fully agree with or think was the best idea, but you'll follow it because you need the help. Because maybe you're worried you're not thinking logical about something or rationally about it, even though maybe you are. That's the hardest thing with mental illness, guys, is that because of these things he talked about, you don't always know if what you're spinning is what everybody else believes is happening, even though you may fully believe it's true. That's the hardest part of the mental brain disease of bipolar. We can't always trust what we're thinking ourselves, and I think that's what you're saying here. So you have to bring other people into the mix to help make decisions and such, and it takes away your ability to be yourself, because in essence, you need other people to help you feel whole in doing things in a logical, reasonable, and rational sense. And like I said, the saddest part about that is that may not be true. You may know exactly what you're doing, but your mind may be telling you maybe not. And then you get somebody tell you you're thinking a little irrationally. That really screws you up, even though maybe they're being irrational and you're not. So then he says, I don't know if it's necessarily approval, but more of a sense of feeling like someone else is in charge of me, and this seems to take away my ability to be an individual. And I think, Cog, we nailed it down after 6 takes. I think that's what we are talking about here. How can you be you if other people are dictating to you what makes you you? So, is what it is in your mind what it is in the minds of others? And does that make what it is to you any more or less rational, because it may not sound rational to them? I think I finally worded that the way I wanted to. I think we can go with this take. But let me give you a little bit of example in my life about how this works for me. I have always had severe anxieties. When I was a kid growing up, I was always the one when they said, yo, Dad needs help with the car. I was always the one running and hiding or going over to my friend's house so I could get out of the situation. When they said it's time to go scrub down the boat, go out and polish the boat, I'm always running away and hiding. So they're thinking, my siblings, my parents, Mikey don't want to help, he don't want to do his fair share. He's always getting away with it. If you're mentally ill, you fully understand the reality of what's going on here. I wasn't trying to get out of doing my work, just like I'm not trying to get out of working a job now. The reality is that there's so much low self-esteem, so much low self-confidence, so much history of doing things wrong, so much history of thinking other people think you did things wrong. That takes away your motivation, because if you don't think you can do it right, how do you become motivated to do it? Therefore, how do you get the energy to get the motivation to do the work? And I haven't even talked about the candle on top of the cake. Most mentally ill people, especially bipolar people, have extreme memory issues. So either one of two things. Either you learn by major repetition, or you worry and worry and worry about if you can do something right when you're not getting the rep. Now, some mentally ill people can do things, I'm not saying you can't do something after being shown once. I'm saying a lot of us can't. I can't. I have to have repetition after repetition because I have a horrible memory. But then what I'm saying is you put together the memory issues with the low self-esteem, the low self-confidence, the lack of motivation, the lack of drive, the lack of physical ability. It makes it extremely difficult to do things productively, and so you look to other people to help, and a lot of times those other people look at that as a weakness. So in essence, all the issues you're struggling with mentally oftentimes can make it almost extremely impossible to function individuality-wise in our society to a degree that will be acceptable to everyone else. I hope this all made sense. I think it's the best of the 6 takes I did. This one was a real mind melter. Please give me likes, comments, shares, subs if you haven't. But let me know how individuality works in your mental makeup. And if it's as discouraging to you as it is to a lot of us. All right, guys. Talk to you later.